Dominik Hasek didn't just change goaltending, he shattered every rule it was built on. With reflexes that looked impossible and a style nobody could copy, he turned pure chaos into pure dominance. This is the legend of the most unpredictable, unbeatable goalie the NHL has ever seen. Alright, let's settle a debate. In one corner, you've got the Dominator, Dominik Hašek, a goalie who played like a man possessed, throwing out the rulebook with a style that was pure acrobatic chaos. In the other corner, you have the giants of the modern era. Think Andrei Vasilevsky, calm, collected titans of technique and positional perfection. So, could Hašek's unpredictable genius actually win out against the calculated scientific efficiency of today's best? We're breaking down the stats, the gear, and the raw talent to figure out which era of goaltending truly comes out on top. To really get this, you have to understand the completely different worlds these goalies played in. Hašek didn't just play in the 90s, he was the 90s. This was the infamous clutch and grab era. We're talking about widespread obstruction, rock-bottom scores, and brutal grinding games. It was a physical, messy style of hockey, and goalies had to survive total chaos in front of the net, a world away from the structured plays you see today. Now, jump to the present-day NHL. The game is faster, the skill is off the charts, and everything is systematic. The two-line pass is a distant memory that opened up the game. Offensive strategy is all about tic-tac-toe passing, cross-ice one-timers, and exploiting the geometry of a goalie's stance. Players are bigger, and their sticks are basically rocket launchers, firing pucks with terrifying speed and accuracy. This is where the argument gets really fun. Dominik Hašek's style was, in a single word, chaos. While guys like Patrick Waugh were making the technical butterfly style famous, Hašek looked like he was inventing a new sport on the fly. At 6'1" and a wiry 166 pounds, he was nothing like the behemoths who guard the net today. He made up for it with insane flexibility. His own marketing team once joked he had a slinky for a spine and an almost psychic ability to read the play. His whole game was reactive. He'd use any part of his body, a pad, his head, his glove, his blocker, to make a save. He'd sprawl out face first, drop his stick to smother a puck, you name it. His most famous move, the Hašek roll, was this unbelievable looking tumble where he'd roll onto his back and kick a leg in the air to stop a puck any other goalie would give it up on. To the old school coaches, it looked like a mess, but it was controlled chaos. His unpredictability was his ultimate weapon. Shooters who trained their whole lives to beat systematic goalies had absolutely no idea what to do with a guy who refused to follow any system at all. Now, compare that to a modern titan like Andrei Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky, at a huge 6'4" and 220 pounds, is the poster child for the new school of goaltending. His game is built on near-perfect positioning, efficiency, and taking up as much of the net as possible. He's calm, he's controlled, and he makes impossible saves look easy because he's almost always in the right spot. He uses techniques like the reverse VH to seal the post against wraparounds and sharp angle shots, a move designed specifically to counter modern offensive plays. While he's an incredible athlete, the athleticism is used to get back into position, not as the foundation of his style. Vasilevsky is the science of goaltending. Hašek was pure art. And you can't even start this conversation without talking about the gear. The equipment doesn't just protect the goalie, it completely defines their style. Hašek played with gear that looks almost comically small today. His leg pads were thin, stuffed with leather and horsehair, and designed to be flexible. They'd also get soaked with water and become incredibly heavy by the third period. His chest protector and gloves gave him a huge range of motion, which he needed for his signature sprawling saves. Hašek's gear was built for one thing: mobility. Fast forward to today, the gear has gone through a revolution. Modern leg pads are made of high-density foams that are super light and incredibly stiff. They're wider and taller, engineered not just to stop the puck, but to form a literal wall when the goalie drops into the butterfly. The NHL actually had to bring in the rules to limit pad sizes because goalies were gaining too much of an advantage. This changes everything. Hašek's smaller gear allowed him to play his chaotic, athletic style. A modern goalie's gear encourages a positional, blocking style. It's made for sealing the ice, not for the wild, full-body contortions that made Hašek a legend. Sure, putting Hašek in modern gear might have limited some of his extreme flexibility, but putting a modern goalie in Hašek's gear would leave them completely exposed. So, what do the numbers say? This is where Hašek's case becomes almost impossible to argue with. He retired with a career save percentage of .922, the highest in NHL history for a goalie with a long career. His career goals against average was a stellar 2.20. And he did this in an era with plenty of firepower. During his absolute peak in the late 90s, he posted numbers that are still ridiculous today, like a .937 save percentage in the 1998-99 season. Let's give that some context. Igor Shesterkin an elite modern goalie, won the Vezina in 2022 with a phenomenal .935 save percentage. Andrei Vasilevsky, a two-time Stanley Cup champion and one of the best of his generation, has a career save percentage of .917. These guys are incredible, but Hašek's peak numbers were right there with them, and his career average is better, all while wearing smaller gear. But the awards tell the real story. Vasilevsky has one Vezina trophy. Shesterkin has one. Dominik Hašek won the Vezina trophy as the league's best goalie 6 times. Even crazier, he won the Hart Memorial Trophy as the league's MVP, not just best goalie, but best player twice. In back-to-back seasons, he is the only goaltender in NHL history to ever do that. This wasn't just a goalie at the top of his field. This was a player who was, for a time, the undisputed best in the world. Beyond the stats and the style, there was something else. The Dominator effect. Hašek's greatest weapon wasn't his flexibility, it was his mind. His style wasn't just physically chaotic, it was psychologically devastating. Shooters would spend their entire careers learning to find the open spots on predictable goalies, only to face a puzzle that had no answer. As one player famously said, with other goalies there's a right place to put the puck. With Hašek, there's nowhere safe. He didn't just stop pucks, he broke the will of entire teams. This mental edge allowed him to do what very few players in history ever have: single-handedly carry a team. His time with the Buffalo Sabres is the stuff of legend. He took a team with very modest talent and dragged them kicking and screaming to a Stanley Cup final. He didn't just win games, he flat out stole them. That's what those 2 Hart trophies really mean. The voters knew that without him, his team was just another club. With him, they were a threat to win on any given night. While modern goalies like Vasilevsky have been the backbone of championship teams, they've almost always had superstar skaters in front of them. Hašek was a superstar. He was the entire system. So, who would dominate? Let's be clear. A goalie like Andrei Vasilevsky is the peak of the position's evolution. A perfect machine of size, technique, and athleticism. He is the ideal modern goalie, but Dominik Hašek wasn't an evolution. He was a revolution. If you dropped Hašek in today's game, he wouldn't just adapt to the modern style. That's like asking a jazz musician to only play sheet music. It's not in his DNA. Instead, the league would have to adapt to him. His incredible athleticism, hockey IQ, and unmatched competitive drive would translate to any era. Modern shooters, trained to exploit tiny openings on systematic goalies, would be completely baffled by his sheer unpredictability. And if you gave him the benefit of modern sports science and training, he'd be even more of a nightmare to play against. While modern goalies have perfected the science of stopping the puck, Dominik Hašek was an artist who played on a level of pure instinct and fire. He proved there is no right way to be a goalie. There is only a way, and his ways was to win. In a league that now prizes systems above all else, his beautiful chaos would be the ultimate weapon. He wouldn't just be a top goalie today, he would be exactly what he was back then, the Dominator. But hey, that's just our take. Who do you think wins this fantasy matchup? The chaotic genius of Hašek or the surgical precision of a modern giant? Let us know what you think down in the comments. And if you love debating the game's legends, make sure you subscribe for more. Hey hockey fans, you can also follow my blog at https://tedtalkshockey.com, and remember to keep your stick on the ice.